Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together and Mayor Patty Land. My special guest today is Jeff Elevado. He is the new Executive Director of our Parks and Recreation Department. We're going to learn about what he has ideas for all of the summer activities. Stay with us. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together and Mayor Patty Land. My special guest today is Jeff Elevado. He is our newest director for the City of Bremerton for Parks and Recreation, and we're going to learn a little bit about his life and some exciting things about our parks. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And you're not new to the city.
No, I've been here since 1981, actually.
81. So prior to 81, we'll take you back 20 years. Where did you grow up?
My dad was in the Air Force, so I was kind of a military brat. We did most of our time in California and then recently in North Dakota. I actually went to high school in North Dakota, Grand Forks, and graduated from high school there. And then he retired out of the Air Force and moved back to Bremerton, where he's originally from, and started working for Boeing in the shipyard and things like that. So I came here to go to school.
And you've got brothers and sisters?
I have one sister, younger.
And she lives here in the
Lives
community?
in California right now.
She stayed as California girl.
Yeah.
Now you have, when I mentioned 35 years with the city, I know that Shar, who has BCAT, hired you in the Parks Department.
Absolutely. I started as a swim instructor lifeguard at the Jarstead Aquatic Center back in 1981, and Charlene was actually one of the coordinators that worked at that pool then. So yeah, that was my start.
81, when was that pool built?
It was built in 78, opened in 79.
I know when I came on board as the mayor, it was a tough decision. You had been involved with that pool and the things that it did for our community. We got a lot of pushback from mostly our seniors, the people that really utilize that. When the city owns a facility, people don't understand why they would contract out or have somebody else take it over. But you know, when you run out of money during that really hard recession, how do you feel about that transition? What happened?
Well, we had a difficult decision, understanding that, on one hand you have a resource that the community really takes advantage of, and then on the other you have this huge subsidized deficit that you just can't make ends meet. So the options we were held with were either to continue to go deeper in the hole or to find another option of having the YMCA operate the facility and keep the building open. So when you weigh keeping it open or closing it, the best thing for the community was to keep it open.
And I have to say, as you were instrumental in that, we had some tough negotiating. It's a 30-year contract. It's our asset, but it did allow us to open early, to have lifeguards, to have lessons. You worked out some wonderful things with some of those seniors. We've got so many free swims during the year. And I think one of the best benefits is the free swimming classes for all the third graders in the Bremerton School District.
Absolutely. We started that program when the city operated it, and actually at that time had all third and fourth graders. So we did about 10,000 kids a year, and it was really critical for the community. I mean, we live around all this water. A lot of these kids coming, particularly from the west side, have never had exposure to the pool or swimming, so it was really important. So the fact that the YMCA is able to continue that is really important to the community.
Right, and then as we're on the pool, on Friday nights the YMCA does some great things for our military, and not just military, but young families. If they've got teenagers, it gives the parent a time to go out on a date. Because without a charge or a minimal fee or scholarship, they've got their Friday nights where kids can come. They're supervised, lots of activities, and it's a great way for kids to take and have other kids around that they're safe.
Absolutely, and they feed them pizza, and it's just a great time. When we were with the pool, they would have the teens swim on Friday night, and I know this is a similar program, so really important for teens to have things to do that are safe, supervised, not be out on the streets.
One thing that I'm thinking of as we talk, our Halloween. For 80 years, the Parks Department had the biggest Halloween parties down at Sheraton Park. I think that you had a lot to do with that as well. And we would give out bicycles, or lately flat screen TVs, or games, things that were really important to our youngsters. You'd have a Halloween contest and bobbing for apples, and that has disappeared. Is it because of the change in the neighborhoods as they become stronger, and they want to take, downtown wants to have the Halloween party, Manette wants to have one, Charleston wants to give out candy? How do you see that transition? Are you in favor of that, and has it given you a little more free time? Because I know you still support the Halloween throughout the city.
Absolutely. We did have a lot of staff time invested into that program. Sheridan had been the site for the Halloween, we called it the All-City Halloween Party, had been the site for over 80 years. There's talk of J.P. Patches being there, and the history of that event. And what happened over time is that other neighborhoods started to do their own programs and activities, and we were having challenges getting the same number of bodies there. The other big factor that determined that was that the Lions Club was very active and involved in running that event with us, and they had other priorities that they had to deal with. So we kind of had all these games and things to do with not a lot of people to man them.
The volunteers.
So volunteer aspect, but really the main reason was that there were plenty of opportunities within the city for people to go take advantage of. And frankly, with our budget cuts and lack of recreation staff, we just didn't have the manpower to properly operate it and give it the attention that it was due.
Right. One of the things that is very popular is the senior center. That's over in Manette, and that's our only senior city in the city.
In the county, actually. I mean, there's other senior recreation centers, like in Port Orchard. We provide service to Belfair, Port Orchard, Kingston. All people come from all over for our programs, so we're pretty proud of that.
That's great. How long has Holly been with us?
Holly's been with us about 8 years now.
8 years. Because she does run that, and the seniors love her. We've got an appreciation of those volunteers. And you know my B pin that I always wear throughout the city, and so I give that to them. The last time we did that, they all started thinking about what B would stand for. Boy, they came up with benevolent and benefactor and lots of exciting words. But that is a constant. You have something going on there all the time.
Yeah, daily activities, free drop-in. Basically, you just have to be a member of the center, which is a minimal fee, $12 a year for a membership fee. All of the classes and so forth are free. We do a special trip program. There's fitness classes. There's card playing, ping pong, pool. You name it, they can do it there. Walking, trekking, very active senior center. It's not all about going and playing dominoes and cards. These are active folks. They do line dancing. They do Tai Chi, tap. Very active senior center. So low cost, great way to socialize. We have about a 700 member group that goes there, and they've really taken ownership of that facility, and through their SUMS organization have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve things such as the parking lot and put AV, audio visual equipment into the building, windows, anything that they can help with. So they've really taken on that center and made it their own, and that's kind of how we like it.
Besides the swimming pool and the senior center, we've got Pendergast, and we've got, of course, Sheraton. So Sheraton is basketball. Let's talk a little bit about your basketball program.
We have adult basketball leagues. Actually, we've run 2 leagues now. We do a regular typical winter league, and then we do a fall league. We also sponsor shipyard leagues. So really, basketball goes like a 4-month period of time. Lots of men's leagues. We also do a boys program, and this is specially designed for kids who didn't make their varsity high school team. It gives them an opportunity to continue to play
and practice
and get ready to make that next step up. So it's really popular with the junior varsity coaching and the programs in the high schools, because it gets those kids ready for high school play.
Another thing that you donated is when we we got a new police chief, and he wanted to interact with the different communities, and we kind of selected the faith-based communities because that's where a lot of our diversity of students attend church. And so we did a playoff, and it was the faith group, you'll have to tell us a little more of the details, that played our patrol officers.
Cops, yeah, kids against cops. Yep.
And the cops never win because they just don't have the stamina. But it is great fun to watch. I love to pop in there and then just watch that interaction. We're trying to get them to recognize that a police officer is really a friend. We want it to be that safety guy you can go to and say, hey, I need your help, rather than, oh my gosh, I'm going to get profiled or they're going to talk to me because he's a cop. And so I think you've been able to do that. Do you now get together once or twice a year in that program?
That was an annual program, yeah. And you know, as you're aware, Chief Strand is instrumental in that connection between the community. And our focus was to provide a venue for that. Scott Evans, our athletic programmer, got the volunteers to referee. Scott's actually a referee himself. He knows those kids. We have a Wednesday open gym where all of the Bremerton area kids all come to the gym from 1 to 4 because it's early release from the high school.
Right.
They all come and shoot hoop and play full court there during open gym. So that's the core group of kids that show up to that, and having that connection to the community is real crucial for us. So we have one-on-one, we have group connection, and kids know it's a safe place to go and a safe place to recreate.
Also in that building, but in the conference space, you have the Parks Commission. You have now that Sin's taken over, one of your staff has taken over for the Arts Commission.
Correct.
The Pogie Club meets there.
Yes.
So I mean, you've got a lot of outside people that utilize the facility, and I think people don't recognize that it's a building. They think of it just as the gym, but you're also instrumental when we do our stand down for the veterans, when we do our annual count of homelessness. This city participates in everything that makes a difference in the community. And your staff is there, the volunteers that make that up. It's a very, very busy place.
It really is. It's an older facility, probably one of the oldest active facilities in the city.
What's underneath it?
Well, there's, I could tell you, but then I'd have to.
Shoot me.
Yeah. And good segue is that there's an old gun range under there. So this facility was used for many things over the years. It's been everything from a police jail at one time to a shooting range to a library,
a lot of storage
school.
Right now underneath.
Yeah, there's lots of folks come back to us and say, "Oh, I remember going to school here," or "I remember taking this class here." You know, most of the mature athletes have played basketball in that gym at one time or another. And we do kind of push our meeting rooms out. We've got, you mentioned some of the big events that we have there that encompass the whole building. We do the Veterans Stand Down actually 2 times a year. We do the Coalition of Care, Project Connect, which is the homeless count. We've done other healthcare provider type basically they come together with all their services so people can come and find out.
When those vendors come in, they really do, again, let people know the types of agencies and the services available, because we can advertise it all we want, and unless you've actually participated, it's hard to remember you have that resource.
We saw probably close to 400 or 500 people at the last service group meeting we had, where folks were coming in looking for services. So it's a need in the community. We also do things as simple as birthday parties and celebrations of life and annual meetings. We've got a new group in there now, the Kitsap Computing Seniors group, that basically they were out at Silverdale in the old community building that is no longer there. They just tore it down a couple weeks ago. So they've come over and we've accepted them and welcomed them into our facility.
That's great.
It's a community facility that people really need to have, because there's not a lot of meeting places out there.
We're going to run over to Pendergast. So now we're into soccer. You've had some private side of it. You've had the public, because it's our facility. Correct. And we have the lighting and the great parking. How's that going? Is it expanding? Are we looking at turfing those fields at some point? How close are we to being a really modern field?
Well, Pendergast's initial design was to be a large 6-field softball complex, and then it's got 2 what we call all-purpose soccer fields. Better word for that is dirt soccer fields, and a lot of folks don't particularly like playing on dirt. The reason they were picked as all surface or all weather fields was because you can play on them year round and not worry about the grass being torn up. What we found is most of those types of fields that were put in over the past several years have all been converted to either natural grass or artificial turf. So that was our goal going in, is to ultimately convert them to artificial turf. Unfortunately, that's about a between $2 and $2.5 million project. We've got all the infrastructure there with lighting and the curbing and everything, but the actual cost of going in and putting good drainage and putting the turf in is about $2 million. You talk of private, there's an indoor soccer center that went in there several years ago. They have 2 indoor fields for adult play and youth play, and then 1 smaller youth field. That group's actually worked with the city to try to get towards building those turf fields. Haven't heard anything new recently. I think the economy, the way it was, they had to slow down a little bit. There was some transition period there where the group was kind of refocusing. So we hope to be able to pursue that in the near future and get 2 more great fields for the community to use.
When was Pendergast designed?
1985, 86-ish, somewhere in that area.
So early on. It's a great plan, and there is space. I know at one time they thought, well, we'll have room for maybe motorhomes can come in and people can stay. But I think we're looking at dog parks, we're looking at, I know that we've got one business person that really wants to have a Little League ball field out there. So we're looking at, again, maybe some funding will come forward. We're always into grant funding when it becomes available so that we can advance and improve all of our parks. We have 38 parks today. Does that include the Lillian Walker?
It does.
And because we're going to air this program several times in the next 30 days, we're just going to cut the ribbon on that middle of June. And it's a whole new look. Anderson Cove has never had access to the water. They haven't had anything quite so, I want to say pristine. The kids, it's raised the value of the people that live down there. And we were able to do this because we partnered with our water system and the stormwater. And tell us a little bit about what is that park? It's more than just a play field and trails down to the water.
Yeah, it really was a great partnership with the Public Works Department. It's essentially a stormwater treatment, like an experimental facility. We'll talk about that more when we open this thing up, but the real focus is it's an area that wasn't very nice down there. It had some old beat up rental homes that
and a pump station
that really weren't good for the community, and it also included cutting off access to the waterfront, and that's one of the things about our area that's really great, is to have access to the waterfront. We did renovate Matan, or some people call it Matan Park, which is just a stone's throw away from that area, so that helped that Anderson Cove area, and our goal is to try to connect those two eventually. But
that's great.
The work with the Public Works, they were able to get a lot of the funding grant. We were able to get to some community development block grant money to put towards that. We call it a park. It's really a stormwater treatment facility, but it's got park elements in it because we can put grass in. We've got a labyrinth paver area that's really a nice amphitheater setting.
Nice.
We've got stones set up in an amphitheater setup so that you can actually sit and look down at the labyrinth and the trails you mentioned down to the water. So great asset to the neighborhood and the community. We hope that people appreciate how much nicer it is down there, and I think the neighboring houses will start improving as they had when Matan Park was improved. It's
being named after Lillian Walker. Boy, was she an advocate. She was again, during the 40s and during the war, Bremerton was segregated. And so she worked on, she started with the NAACP and also the YWCA. It's amazing that we could take and have someone in our community of that pioneer level that we can name a park after.
Honored to do it. Looking forward to it.
And the park was designed by our own staff. We have a tremendous, is her degree in not designing parks, but in landscape
architecture, yeah.
But she helps out on the drainage and old parks. So whenever we're doing something, we redid Kiwanis. We've expanded Lions Park. We're doing some things over at Manette.
Correct.
So she's involved in doing all of that, and that saves a bundle of money not to have to go out and hire someone and have them learn about our soils and the usage, but to have somebody on staff that really has been a boon, I think, to our Parks Department.
Absolutely. Colette Berna is our park preservationist and development manager, and the skills she brings to our department are, immeasurable. Not only does she have the landscape design background, she's very fluent in the CAD design, so she can get designs prepared that we would normally have to contract out. She works very closely with our maintenance staff, and then really is the leader on all the grant applications. And we've been so successful over the past many years.
Has a knack.
We've probably acquired more than $5 million worth of grants, and many of those grants we placed at the top of the state of sometimes 40 or 50 applications. So one of her strongest suits is the ability to take the community's requests and needs and what their wants are and put them on paper and then go present it to a granting agency and convince them to give us money to make it happen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the team that we work with, it is just a team. It's really a great, everybody brings their piece to the table. We feel that we get really strong projects out of that collaboration.
Two quick things that are, I think, important to the community. One is Beyond Accessible Playground and our farmers market. So on Thursdays, boy, are we getting busy in the city. Thursdays from 4 to 7, we've got the farmers market. And from 6 to 8, we've got music at Manette at the Whitey Donstead Park. So when the farmers market started, we had it just in the parking lot like other farmers markets. It was restrictive about how you could get in and get out and get your purchasing. And when you and the Parks Department said, let's move them over on the land that is made for an event like this, it just blossomed. We have at least 40 vendors every Thursday. It starts in May and it goes through October. I think that it's one of the most popular and successful farmers markets in all of Kitsap County.
I would have to agree. One of the challenges with Evergreen Park, which is a location, is parking. It's tough. And when you take 15 to 20 parking stalls to run a farmer's market when we have all this open space, it just didn't make sense. So we did move it to the grass area. It gives it a more comfortable park-like feel. It's a beautiful park to do those types of things. Lots of things for the kids to do. They can go play on the accessible playground while mom and dad are walking through the booths and so forth. And then it provides additional parking. So, and the folks that run the farmers market, Julia Zander and now Marie Vila is one of the workers who was a city employee with CDBG. She's now with the farmers market. Just phenomenal folks, and really trying to provide much exposure to the community and to the vendors as well. So we're also doing some special Sunday only markets at various parks throughout the city. Manette, Kiwanis, and Lions Park
and
are the ones.
And that's on our website for people to see. You worked as an interim before we made you into the director, and you were instrumental to work with the Port of Bremerton to get a new boat ramp facility, and it was owned by the port. We shared in the cost. It's now up and running. You've got some new parking rules down there for people that want to launch their boat. Let's tell the audience a little bit about what those rules are.
Well, we were fortunate that the port was able to get a grant to replace the aging boat ramp down at Evergreen Park. It's a highly used ramp, and it's got not only a dock, but it's got a 2-slip ramp launch site, so you can launch 2 boats at the same time. We do have parking in the center aisle of our main lot that's for boat trailer only. We have signage up that says that way, but as you can imagine, during a busy weekend or during a time when the farmers market's going strong, folks tend not to read those signs and mistakenly park in the boat launch and possibly get ticketed. So we're encouraging everybody to remember that that's for trailer parking only. And when we renovated Evergreen with this Beyond Accessible Playground program, we also added some additional diagonal back-end parking, which added spaces. We upgraded the ADA parking, so there's more handicap spaces available. So we did improve the number of spots that people could park in. We wish we could have more parking, but we also need green space and park area. And I guess we're a victim of our own success, and I'm okay with that.
Well, we're doing that parking study, so there's something that we will be looking at for the first time. The entire 30 square miles that make up the city of Bremerton's city limits are going to take and realize what some of those parking needs are. I know when you started college and you're a graduate associate degree at Olympic College, did you think that your career would get to this level? Because I know this is a wish for anyone that likes activities and says, that's where I want to be one day.
Well, to be honest with you, my degree is in biology and chemistry, which...
The pool.
Pool works, yeah, pool works. So my starting to work for the city was really during college to help pay for tuition and books and so forth. And it really, it wasn't really a job. It was fun to do. I enjoyed the people that I worked with. And how can you not have fun working on things that other people, help people have fun and recreate?
Exactly.
So no, I never thought it. Somebody told me if you stick around long enough, they might make you, make you one of the supervisors or whatever. And that's kind of how it worked with the pool. I spent 25 years at the aquatic center, but also had an interest in other elements of recreation. Had played baseball in college and had been an active softball player, so I was on the athletic side of it. And also some maintenance stuff.
I'd say that you worked your way right up to where you need to be. We're glad to have you in the position of director. We're glad to have you work with your team. And as small as that Parks Department team is, you are growing it. And I think they have faith in you to take and get everything done. We're excited about this summer, and all the activities are going to be posted on the website, as well as some numbers on this BCAT. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's been a joy this far, and I look forward to many years with you at the helm.
As do I.
Thank you, audience. We'll see you next time with Growing Bremerton Together and Mayor Patty Lind.